Currently, the 2016 Steam Summer Sale is going on, where pretty much everything is discounted, but unfortunately you aren't made of money, so you can't buy everything. So, I'm going to tell you how to spend your money by putting together a short list of a few games that I recommend. The first game on my list is Antichamber. If you like strange puzzle games, then I highly recommend this one. It's described as a first-person psychological exploration game. Most of the puzzles aren't straightforward, so it forces you to think in a different way that doesn't really make the most logical sense. I've played this game for 14 hours, and that was enough to get 100%, so it might take you longer, might take you less time, but the price is 75% off, bringing the price to $4.99. And I would say that's a pretty decent way to spend your money. Next on the list are a couple Far Cry games. Far Cry 3 is currently $5, and if you don't care to spend a little more money, Far Cry 4 is $20. They're more or less the same game. Far Cry 4 obviously has a few added features, so I guess you decide what your budget is and decide between 3 or 4. And also, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is a little more than Far Cry 3 at $7.49, but it's a very interesting experience that I would recommend. It's much shorter than Far Cry 3, but I would say it's worth the price that they have on it. Trials Evolution and Trials Fusion are next up on the list. They were both priced at $10. And if you're just going to get the base game, then I would recommend Trials Evolution because that contains all of the tracks from both Evolution and Trials HD, so that's basically 2 games in one for $10. But Trials Fusion has all the fantastic DLC, and if you want to get the Season Pass, that's another $10, which I would say doubles the amount of tracks in the game, but also bear in mind that if you get the Season Pass, then you don't also get the Awesome Level Max DLC, which is another $5. And at that price, I don't know if I can recommend that DLC, but, you know, it's your money. You do what you want with it. Wolfenstein: The Old Blood is 50% off, priced at $10. And this is a decent game, but I don't know if I can heavily recommend it. It has a lot of stealth in it, and Wolfenstein isn't really a stealth game, so it can be a little screwy at times. I essentially beat the game twice in 15 hours. And I'm not particularly good at FPSs, so it's probably about a 4 to 5 hour campaign to the average FPS player. However, Wolfenstein: The New Order is also priced at $10, and I haven't played the full game, so I don't know if I can really recommend that, but it's probably going to give you more enjoyment out of the $10 that you spent, so I guess I'll recommend that over The Old Blood, but Wolfenstein: The Old Blood is still a pretty good game. The Binding of Isaac. One of the few games that I have almost put 300 hours into. The Binding of Isaac is a fairly difficult roguelike with a pretty weird and dark theme. I don't really know how to describe it, but The Binding of Isaac, the original, is $2.49. However, I would recommend Binding of Isaac Rebirth, which is a remaster of the original, including the DLC, priced at $9. And also, the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth DLC is on sale for $7.36. But I don't know if I would recommend the DLC as soon as you buy the game, because the DLC adds quite a bit to the game that already has a lot to do in it. 7 Days to Die is on sale for $10, and I think this is actually the cheapest I've ever seen it, but I could be wrong about that. This is a zombie survival game in a voxel-based sandbox environment. I haven't played this a whole lot, because I'm kind of over these survival sandbox games. But since I've played it a long time ago, this game has made a lot of improvements. And it is technically in early access, but from what I've seen of it, it seems to work pretty well. I mean, every game has its bugs, but I guess I will say purchase at your own risk because of the early access. But it does seem to be regularly updated, so I don't think you really have to worry about this game being abandoned. Hotline Miami 1 and 2 are 75% off. The original is $249 and the second one is $374. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is because I haven't played the first one, but Hotline Miami is a retro themed top-down shooter that is very difficult and will require you to do a lot of trial and error and die multiple times. But if this is the type of game you like, I've enjoyed it, even though I've kind of hated it at times, and $374 is not a bad price tag for this. Grand Theft Auto, one of my favorite game series of all times. Aside from GTA 5, all of the games are at least 75% off, and the GTA collection is 80% off at $10, which includes Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas 4, and episodes from Liberty City. So essentially the full bundle, except for 5. Personally, I recommend San Andreas, priced at $374. I've been making my way through this game again, and bear in mind, these are fairly old games, so the controls are kind of weird, and if you can't handle awful controls, then maybe don't get the full collection. But overall, I think they are still good games.
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
The last game I have on my list is sort of a game. It is Life is Strange. From what I've read on the internet, people either love this game or they absolutely hate it. But going off of Steam reviews, the majority of people who have actually played through the game, or at least the people who have purchased it, mostly like it. I like the game. I have my complaints about it. Some of them are kind of small complaints. The characters are, I'm gonna say, quirky. They aren't exactly the most normal characters, but I think overall the story is good enough to follow that even if some of the characters are kind of weird and you might question why someone would say something, I don't think it ruins the story. It might make the overall theme just a little off, but episode 1 is only $2. The full game is $10, but the season pass, which is episode 2 through 5, is $8.49. I hope I was able to influence the spending of your money. I've already spent quite a bit of money on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, Doom, and Dark Souls 3, and unfortunately, I'm still considering buying other things, so there goes my money.